In the second part of this lecture, we will continue with the advantages and disadvantages of 4 additional technology-based training methods: simulations, business games, augmented reality, and MOOCs. The best simulations have a high degree of both physiological and psychological fidelity, meaning the training task closely matches the work task, and the two environments, the training environment and the work environment, are similar. A good example is a flight simulator for pilots. Trainees must make decisions about how to respond and how to demonstrate the KSAOs and behaviors that they've just learned. Their decisions in the simulation will produce outcomes that are very similar to those they could expect in the work environment. Using the branching story, trainees make a series of decisions, and each one affects the subsequent decision. Interactive spreadsheets allow trainees to interact with the data and experiment with different decisions, including how those decisions create different outcomes. Game-based simulations are like playing a video game with competition and points and different levels. After participating in the simulation, trainees receive feedback from the trainer and from the technology, and they should debrief and conduct an after-action review with the trainer and other learners. Simulations and simulators provide some of the most realistic practice possible in a training situation. They are highly customizable, designed specifically for the organization that creates or purchases it. This training method is commonly used for training employees in public transportation and safety, like pilots, conductors, bus drivers, and equipment operators. Trainees can learn from their mistakes in a safe environment, which can prepare them for a variety of risky, dangerous, or emergency situations. The major drawback of simulations is that they can be expensive to develop, sometimes tens of millions of dollars, depending on the job. The technology costs money, but so does the customization that is typical of this method. Plus, it isn't always easy to incorporate identical elements, especially when the budget is small. The next method is business games, where trainees must make decisions based on the information they collect and how they analyze it. While they do this, they have to follow a set of rules and compete with other learners, the clock, or some other standard. And the best answer is not always obvious. In highly interactive business games, decisions are interdependent. The consequences of any one given choice are dependent on other trainees' decisions. While having fun is part of the learning process, these games need to be clearly linked to the learning outcomes in order to be effective. High performers should be those who demonstrate newly learned KSAOs and behaviors. The best games require trainees to complete different levels of training to prove that they've mastered the content at each level. Leaderboards that show who has the most points do in fact motivate some low scorers to improve their training performance. We also tend to be more motivated when we compete against our own scores. Business games can be effective because learners are actively involved in the learning process. Games can be exciting to play, and they can hold people's attention for long periods of time. It also helps when the competitive nature of the game is similar to the competitive nature of the work environment. Like simulations, these games allow us to mimic work situations that are dangerous or risky. This method is popular for developing skills in management, healthcare, and engineering. Unfortunately, business games can be expensive and time-consuming to develop. This is an activity that may need to be outsourced to an external vendor. Even the best designers may have difficulty mimicking the work environment, and these games may not be as realistic as they need to be to maximize learning. Plus, trainees must be highly motivated to participate. Some people are not motivated by competition, and others don't see the value in quote-unquote playing games. One of the newest training technologies is augmented reality, or AR for short. It requires trainees to wear a headset or glasses, like an oversized pair of sunglasses. They can still see their physical environment, but the headset projects graphics and video onto the screen so it lays over their view of the physical environment. They can reach out and touch the graphics, play sound and video, and access additional information by interacting with the content. AR is now being used by a variety of industries, including healthcare and manufacturing. You've probably heard of virtual reality, which is slightly different. Virtual reality simulates an entirely separate and artificial environment, while AR only projects digital elements onto our view of the real physical world. Augmented reality is one of the most interactive training methods that we've learned about in this module. Trainees can interact with other learners, trainers, experts, and even other employees who are not part of the training group. The defining feature of this method, however, is the degree to which trainees can interact with the content. They can access data in real time and different kinds of visuals, like diagrams and instruction manuals, all while working. AR is often used to complement other methods. After completing classroom instruction, for example, trainees can use the technology to continue learning and support transfer on the job. One of the other advantages is that this technology is highly customizable and relatively easy to keep up to date with the latest information. One of the most significant challenges to implementing AR technology is the cost. Not only does it cost tens of thousands of dollars to develop the content, it also costs at least $1,000 per headset. The current design of AR headsets requires a very bright display and uses significant battery power in a short amount of time. This limits the application of AR because it's not useful for some work, like outdoor jobs. Plus, some people, like myself, experience headaches, nausea, and dizziness after wearing AR headsets for even a short amount of time. The final training method that I want to mention is MOOCs, a relatively new option. MOOCs are massive open online courses. They are delivered and administered by external vendors who usually make them available for free and accessible to anyone with internet access, thus millions of people. The instruction is application-based. Trainees receive the same content and complete the same assignments, but they can do so at their own convenience. They usually watch engaging lectures and then interact with the material, the trainer, and other learners, sometimes, through hands-on activities like projects and role plays. Some MOOCs even offer college credit or certificates of completion, which can be useful for some employees, like those who need remedial training and those who would like to explore alternative career options. MOOCs are an attractive training method because they're relatively inexpensive for organizations to implement within their existing systems. Many vendors ensure the entire course is accessible to people with hearing and visual impairments. Plus, there are tens of thousands of courses available, and they cover a wide range of topics. Think of a topic you want to learn more about. There's a MOOC for that. Even if an employer doesn't implement MOOCs in their training system, individual employees and even the unemployed can access these courses. They can be very engaging by providing opportunities to observe, interact, practice, and receive feedback. But the problem is very few people end up participating fully and completing the entire course with passing grades. And it's not because the courses are too difficult. There are other factors that many of you are familiar with because you take online courses. There are other factors that get in the way, so to speak. The other drawback of this method is that although the content may be relevant to a job, it may not have a strong connection to the organization and its needs. Like other semi-synchronous methods, MOOCs are not appropriate for some training topics, like those that require live instruction and live practice, for example. Now that you've learned more about the technology-based training methods available to us, explore some of the examples we've curated for you on this page.